Well, it's overdue, but I think the back line here is due for a little bit of a makeover. Stand by. Hey everybody, welcome back to RATTLECAN Guitar Restorations. I am James. We are all going to pretend that 2020 just never happened. And we're going to pick up where we left off. And what we are going to start our new project is, this is my old live gig rig. Back when you did things like that and you schlepped around a whole lot of equipment. These days, a lot of times I show up to a gig with a fly rig and a guitar and a set of in-ears, and you call it a day. But anyways, this is a Galien-Krueger GK. The amp is a Goldline 500. It was a production run that was sold strictly out of Guitar Center, which immediately left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. I liked it. It's a solid amp. It'll just absolutely blow the hair off the back of your legs. And it is paired with, this is the Glx Cabinet. This is a 410 cabinet with gold metallic cones for extra visual punch. And it's covered in the thing that I hate most in the whole wide world, which is carpet. And for years and years and years, I have sworn that I was going to change it. And today's the day. So let's get this monster up on the table and talk about this a little bit. Holy buckets! It is not an insubstantial piece of equipment. Just for fun, if you've never seen one of these, we are 23 inches wide, 26 inches tall. We are 18 inches deep. And just for fun, let's look here on the back. This is the 410 GLX, which will handle 400 watts at 8 ohms. You know, I don't remember if I ever posted it. I know I made a video that talked about trying to match up amp heads and amp cabinets as far as ohms, so that your 400 watt amp is really a 400 watt amp and not a 200 watt amp, or your cabinet is very efficiently reduced to a smoke generator if you do it wrong. So anyways, we've got this hideous carpet on it, which as you can see, it picks up every little bit of sawdust. After a while, it starts to come loose from the underlying structure, and it just looks horrible. So what are we going to do to it? Well, first of all, we got to disassemble the thing. So we got a backing plate off. We've got 8 corners. We've got 2 spring latches. We've got a grill. We'll see if we're going to take the speakers out or if we are able to just mask this off and then put our intended finish on around that. So let's just take the silly thing apart first. All right, you can see just how this fabric just collects everything, and it holds on to it for dear life. So here is our, this is how they distribute the signal to the 4 speakers. So you plug your power cable in here from your amp, and it goes into this circuit board, and then it gets split up into your 4 speakers. So now we've got a mass of speakers going to each of the individual speakers. So if we are looking at this, this is the top, and we flip it down. We've got black on the left, we've got red on the right, and we are, let's see, will that fit? Oh, perfect, that'll fit down in there, just like that. So now, with my sexy gravelly voice, what we have to do is we have to start removing this fabric, and that is going to reveal to us what the structure of this cabinet is made of. You can see a seam that goes down along here. So these are, you know, if I had to guess manufacturing wise, this is probably a die cut piece, and they were able to wrap it to this part, and then they put this on top of it. We are not going to worry about it. Now, if we were going to replace this with a different type of fabric, like if we were going to replace this with Tolex, then I would try to be careful and remove these pieces so that I could keep them and use them as a pattern. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do something a little unconventional, and I think a little more rattle can-ish. So let's get this carpet off of here and see what we got to work with. All right, so we got the back pulled off. I showed you that one piece of fabric that was die cut on the back. You can see where the corners, where they folded it over, and it looks like this is MDF with a rounded over corner, but this looks suspiciously like this back plate that goes over the back of the amplifier. It appears to be glued in. There's a really good chance if we wanted to get in through the back that it would be a not fun thing to do. You can also see, we'll raise up here a little bit, you can see where they applied, which was probably some sort of a contact cement on here with probably just a roller, and then that's how they got it on there. We do have carpet on this plate. We also have what I'm going to guess would be animal spray right here. You could use animal in whatever way you want to use it. Could be a 2-legged animal, could be a 4-legged animal. So we are going to pull these speakers out and set them off to the side. I just used a pencil and marked the orientation of my wires for red and black. And then there is your pretty gold coned speaker. All right, so what we're in the process now of doing is defuzzing it. Because if you're gonna go into a place and you're just gonna pound them with the base, you don't want all this fuzz on it. I'm not really concerned about getting this contact adhesive off of here. But I do want this fuzz off of here. And I've tried, I don't know, 3 or 4 different ways. And the one that I've come up with so far that has worked the best is, well, I use one process to kind of get rid of the fuzz, and then I use another process to get rid of the leftovers. To get rid of the fuzz, I just do this. Always wear the appropriate personal protective equipment. These are made in China. I don't have any idea what the secret herbs and spices are that they have in this contact cement or any of this covering. So, you know, take care of your lung meats. Keep them nice and pink. So then the other thing that I do is, this is a Carbide paint scraper. And after I have gotten the fuzzies off of it, I can then go in and I can get these little nubbins off of here. God, I bet that's a lovely noise. You can discover skills like this if you renovate a mid-century home with your lovely wife. Links up in the corner in case you want to see that goat rope. The fit and finish on these is not terribly precise, as you can see from these marks where they've rounded these corners off. I mean, it almost looks like they just did it with a grinder. And you know, that's okay because you're covering it with that thick, nappy carpet, and that's never going to show in something like this. If you are painting this, that's a horse of a different color. If you're going to put, you know, wood veneer on this, you don't have to worry about the finish on that as much, but depending on the thickness of your veneer, these little bumps on here are going to show through. Probably not going to show through on what we're doing, but we'll go over to this side and I'll show you that process again. Again, be careful. You don't have to use MAP gas. You could use butane. Anytime you're working with fire, make sure you got a fire extinguisher handy. I have one right over there. And we're just trying to get these long, stringy nylon hairs to now curl up, and then it's a little easier to scrape them off of there. I got a staple right there from when they built this. Just use a nail set. Okay, we've gotten the outside of this box sanded up fairly well. The speakers are out. We have the same issue here. We have this just hideous carpet and the remains of that. But let's take a look at this box, what we've got. This is the top of our cabinet, and this is our input plate. It's not a twist lock, it's just a regular 1/4 inch. Which goes again into this splitter board, which distributes our signal equally to the 4 different speakers in there. And what you will notice is that you have a box within a box, and so there is a hole in this divider and in this divider as well that allows wires to go through. This one doesn't have a wire going through it, but it's probably just as easy to make these pieces standard, and you drill 2 pieces, you drill 2 holes out in every single piece, and then it doesn't matter which way you put it in. And then when the speakers are in here and when they fire off, because bass is all about moving large amounts of air, you will see that there is a space up here. Shine my light in there. See if we can see that. There's a space in there, so that way when you're doing the thumping and these speakers are moving in and out, they can move air in and out of these ports. And there's a top section and then there's a bottom section. This is a full range speaker system. There's no tweeters in here. We don't have a crossover. We're not using 2 amp sections or anything like that. And so now, and you can see how they've got it painted in here so that when you look inside this port, you just see black. And then you'll also notice that there is some, I guess, caulking that is put in all of these joints. And the reason we're doing that is so that we don't get things rattling around. So we're going to, again, do our burn and scrape on getting this faceplate clean, getting this clean, and this clean as well. And then we'll vacuum it all out. And then when we inspect in here, when we look inside all these little holes, we'll look and see, is that caulking that's in there, is it intact, or do we need to supplement that in some way? Because stuff shrinks over the years and stuff happens. So, yay, more fun. All right, let's talk about a little bit about what's going on here. First of all, I have stuffed up the ports just to keep as much of the primer out of there as we can. And there's some interesting stuff going on. And I'm not exactly sure what this is. If it's the primer that is not digging the residual contact cement. There's some more of it there. It's not, you can see if I start to rub it, because this is a part where things, we may have to change tactics here, especially if I could keep the frickin' camera on what's going on here. Anyways, this is contact cement that was left over after we had pulled the carpet off. There is a primer that we have put down, and it appears that primer is reacting with our contact cement. Now, it could be because our primer could have xylene or toluene or something like that in there, and that solvent is attacking the leftover cement. Because a lot of times with adhesives, that's what you do. That's the kind of stuff that's that's active in like Gooby Gone you know, those type of products that are made to remove adhesives. They usually have toluene or xylene in them. So I think that is what's going on, because it doesn't matter which area I go to, all I have to do is pull my finger across that, and that is starting to come up. So the dilemma, because what we're dealing with, well, besides being outdoors and the lighting is not exactly cooperating here with us, because the issue that we're having is, okay, so now what? What do I do now to mitigate what's going on because this contact cement is all over the thing. You know, because all of these areas were covered by carpet, and it doesn't. So am I going in and scraping that off? That's an interesting call. And then the next call becomes, what do I coat this with? You know, am I going from, at least my initial thought is, am I going to go from a spray primer to something like Kills, like an oil-based Kills? So we will come back, we'll do some digging, we'll explore the interwebs and see what we come up with. All right, I'm going to show you a little bit of progress here. What you missed was the exciting activity of me putting a coat of shellac on here. And that seems to have done the trick. I tried to remove as much of the where the primer and that residual contact cement had reacted. Just used a scraper and tried to get as much of that off as I could, and then put overall a couple of fairly substantial coats of shellac on, especially on these routed corners where it just, you know, it just sucks up anything that you put on it. So we went over that time and time and time again. I put one coat of the black bed liner on there because, first of all, I wanted to see, it says textured, I wanted to see how much texture it had. It's not to the point of like a rhino liner type. It's a little more subtle than that, but it's certainly not, you know, it's certainly not a flat paint. So once I kind of saw that, I scuffed that down a little bit, and then that gave me an idea of where I needed to do a little bit of body work, because there were some, as you can see, there's some scrapes and gouges. There's also a bunch of pinholes from where they were assembling this unit. Some of it I used Bondo with, some of it I used just wall compound, and we'll see how that works. It'll be kind of a little bit of a test. I've still got a little bit of sanding to do, and then we will blow it off, vacuum it off, get the tack cloth after it, and then we'll go to paint it again. Yeah, it's not too bad, you know. And to be honest, compared to the carpet that used to be on there, I mean, I would go out with it right now the way that it is, because I like this unfinished state better than I like that hideous carpet. All right, here's the update. It's yeah, it's all right. Is it amazing? No. Is it good enough to get beat up on going in and out of a truck and up and down stairs and junk spilled on it? Yeah, probably so. It does have a little bit of a rough-ish texture to it, and that's okay. There is some overspray still on it from, well, from spraying it. Here's an interesting thing that if you're buying one of these and somebody tells you it's a GK cabinet, look at the wheels, because apparently they had their own wheels made. I never noted that. So anyways, we're just going to screw stuff back on it and see where that gets us. So another tip for you, make sure you're putting the right screw in the right hole. Your handles, your spring handles, are going to get the round top screws, the panhead screws, and your corners are going to get your flat top screws so that they countersink down nicely and fit flush. Because if you don't do it like that, it's going to look weird. So we have gotten the casters and the corners and the handles and the back plate and the speaker wire assembly. You know what I just noticed? What's going on with this guy? That's kind of weird. That may be one of those things that when it had carpet on it, it didn't matter. The fit and finish on this didn't have to be stellar because, you know, you had slop built into it with the carpet on it. Anyways, yeah, so let's run back here. And we have been very, very gently cleaning our speakers. Some of them are much more cooperative than others. This one is probably the worst, and it has involved a small nylon pick, you know, just a pointed nylon stick, and a very mild water solution with just a couple of dabs of vinegar in it, and it's coming along. I'm having to pick at these little crystals here, and then they will kind of break up into much smaller pieces, and then those can be wiped away. And it's just, they're never going to be brand spanking new because, well, they're not new. But be mindful of where you stash your stuff if you have animals. So those are getting ready to get put back in. Let's walk back over. So those will get screwed in, and then the grate's going to go on. All right, we're moving on to the grill, which is not, there's not really a whole lot going on. We still have the remnants. You see those little white specks? That is the same leftover cat pee that we have been taking off of our speakers. And if you don't think that this stuff is potent, well, you're wrong. If we look on the back side, we have sections where that has run down the inside of this grill and sat there out of focus. There we go. And over time, it has eaten through the paint and proceeded to rust. So we're cleaning that off with a wire brush to get as much of the rust off of there that we can. Then we're just going to give it a quick shot of just a flat black paint, just to protect it more than anything. You know, you're not going to see this, but you want to prevent any more corrosion from going on. And I'm trying to go through with just a nylon brush and getting more of these specks off of here, just soaking it down with some simple green and letting it sit for a little bit to try and soften that off and get that stuff off of there. Now, if you wanted to repaint the whole thing, I mean, that's easy enough to do. You just have to get a 7mm wrench and unaffixate these medallions from the front of your grill. They do have some Gorilla Snot type of stuff on there to keep them from backing out. You could replace those with Nylox if you wanted to, or For ages, whenever we had to replace baskets on speakers, we just used clear nail polish, and you just kind of put a coat on the top of there. Once you get it cinched down, you just coat the top of that, and it'll prevent that from backing off from the vibrations. All right, so you remember back when we marked our speakers, it now makes it super easy to reconnect these. And kind of like the screws on the back of the grill, I know a number of people who will just take some clear nail polish and put it on these connections just as an added insurance policy. And then we just screw them back in. And then we're, I think we're getting pretty close to being done. So there we are. One recovered GK 410 bass cabinet. I kind of like the way it looks. So here's the great thing that I like about this. If it gets gashed up, it's a fairly easy fix. You don't have to recover the whole thing. You don't have to live with a big ugly scar in it. You could just sand it down, fill it in with whatever media you want to fill it in with, give it a short blast of primer, then head down to the automotive store and pick up another can of truck bed liner. It's, I'm probably four cans into this, so I don't know, $50 and a little bit of time and a little bit of Bondo, and I think it's going to work for me. It's a heck of a lot better than that nappy ass carpet that was on it for years and years and years. So anyways, that's how I did it. I'm sure there are better ways to do it, and I'm sure you guys have come up with some pretty creative ways to recover. If you have done something cool with your cabinet, or your amp, your road case or something, I'd love to see that stuff. Put a link down in the comment section beneath the sermon notes. I'd kind of like to see those, because I think the next project along these lines is, I think we may construct a case, maybe, for this. I don't use it very much because, let's be honest, most of the time you just plug into a DI. And at least the place, the church that I'm playing at, we don't even use ISO cabs anymore. We used to have big cabinets in sound isolation boxes in the back of the stage, and we don't even use that stuff anymore. Everything that we have comes through the in-ears, and if you are fortunate enough to be on a live stage, then you can feel it through your feet. Otherwise, you do what I did, and I just built a very shallow platform and put a transducer in it, and it's got a cutoff in it, so you just run the sound into it, and it basically discards everything. I think ours is set at 120 cycles, so it only passes through 120 and below. And then it basically just moves the surface of that platform, and you can feel it through your feet. So, I don't know, we'll just have to see what's going on. So anyways, that is the GK Gold Line GLX 410 bass cabinet, destructicated of the carpet and covered in truck bed liner. Anyways, you guys have a good one. We're back, kind of back. We'll see. The world is full of surprises. You guys have a great weekend. Cheers.
Hey, if you like this episode of RATTLECAN Guitar Restorations, you might want to check this video out as well. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, and if you'd like to help the channel grow, consider stepping over to our Patreon page and giving that a look. Y'all have a good weekend. Cheers.